about what's happening with Sean Diddy Combs. Can we start there? Where is his inner circle right now? I mean, why aren't we seeing them rush to his defense?
Well, I mean, it's hard to defend, especially when you're caught on video beating a woman savagely like he did.
Were that there are a lot of people in Hollywood who are probably worried about which Diddy parties they were at and what was going on.
Well, how do you fully escape it, though? Like your name, for example, was mentioned in the Diddy case.
Which was the most ridiculous thing ever.
Because you barely know
This is the
right?
most ridiculous thing ever. But again, welcome to being a celebrity.
Another high-profile name listed in Lil Rod's lawsuit is Jennifer Lopez.
From the standpoint of the names of the celebrities that were tied to this, the fact that Jennifer Lopez was tied to this back when.
From Jennifer Lopez to Usher and even Justin Bieber, the Diddy scandal has dragged some of the biggest names in Hollywood into the mud. While some are alleged victims of his, like the then 15-year-old Justin, others should apparently be in jail right there with him. And as many experts are pointing out, A-listers are pretty much quaking in their boots right now. And then we have Jaguar Wright listing a number of people who should be on the stand next to the disgraced rapper. When ex-producer Rodney Jones filed his 52-page civil lawsuit, people didn't expect so many A-listers to get dragged down the Diddy hole. It's bad enough that one of the biggest rappers in the world was revealed to be a terrible person, but it looks like there are other Hollywood celebrities that are going to be put on the burner next. People have been involved with the latest news from Diddy, with his arrest video being leaked from where he was taken into custody at the Park Hyatt New York hotel.
You can now see how that arrest went down. This morning, watch how federal agents took Sean Diddy Combs into custody. He's seen in this video entering the Park Hyatt Hotel in Midtown Manhattan with others when agents from Homeland Security Investigations approach and separate him. They place Combs under arrest and lead him out the front door in handcuffs. His lawyer said Combs had come to New York 2 weeks earlier with the intention of turning himself in. He did not expect the agents to be waiting at his hotel last Monday night.
Why doesn't the government want him to turn himself in? Because then they can't ask for detention. So they go and they arrest him. They arrest a guy who came to New York to turn himself in. 1, 2, 3.
A day earlier, Combs seen out and about in New York with his family, seemingly in good spirits. Combs has pleaded not guilty to racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, and prostitution charges.
But let's take a moment to revisit all the celebrities that were first mentioned in the Rodney Jones lawsuit, and otherwise, now that we're expecting additional defendants in the Diddy trial. First up is Academy Award-winning actor Cuba Gooding Jr. Rodney Jones alleged that Diffie used to groom people to pass off to his friends, with him being one of his victims.
Let's start with the allegations against Academy Award-winning actor Cuba Gooding Jr. Lil Rod alleges Diddy was, quote, grooming him to pass him off to his friends. This fear became reality when Mr. Combs introduced Mr. Jones to Cuba Gooding Jr. when they were on Mr. Combs' yacht. There's actually photos of their interaction together too, which are laid out in those court documents. In the first pic, you see Diddy and Cuba talking with Diddy's arms on Cuba's. In the next pic, Cuba has his arm around Lil Rod and is smirking. Court docs go on to state, quote, Cuba Gooding Jr. began touching, groping, and fondling Mr. Jones's legs, his inner thighs near his groin, the small of his back near his buttocks, and his shoulders. He rejected his advances, and Mr. Gooding Jr. did not stop until Mr. Jones forcibly pushed him away.
People noted that Gooding was distancing himself from the case, rather than explicitly stating he had nothing to do with it, or even just saying no comment. It looks like a PR move that some have analysed as a way to protect himself in case he decides to testify against Diddy. It's important to note that if given a deal by the feds, Gooding would probably take it, because he's already had a sexual assault case dealt against him.
I think whatever he's dealing with, he's on his journey, man. I think that God has got him on a path where I can't imagine that he's stupid enough to do whatever he's doing and keep it on the premises. I think that the raid and all of that stuff, only time will tell who was involved, who had been a frequent guest in these places and areas. It's funny because my lawyer said, you know, every outlet in the world wants to talk to you. And again, I'm like, I'm not defining myself from some headline in the press, so I stay quiet. So interesting. So interesting. So clearly distancing himself from these allegations and from Diddy. He could have said no comment, could have said, look, I can't talk about that, could have said my lawyers, they don't want me saying anything. But no, he gave his opinion. He didn't say, this is all untrue, these are all lies, they're making up everything about him. But he seemed to suggest it could be true. But he doesn't want any part about it. He doesn't want any part of it. Doesn't want to be interviewed about it. And that's really interesting. He doesn't want people now to define him based on that. Now, from a legal point of view, makes 100% sense, right? You do not want to say anything that could be used against you in court, especially if Cuba Gooding Jr. testifies at this trial, right? This case goes to trial. What he says could be used to cross-examine him, to question his credibility. So he's very careful.
Gooding pointedly said that he didn't know Diddy well at all, and they were just acquaintances. He went on to repeatedly deny the Diddy accusations, chalking it up to being a celebrity and having haters.
That he never met Diddy until 2019, 2020, and that he hadn't seen him since the yacht incident that Jones described. Says they were only acquaintances, only hung out with him like 2 or 3 times.
Cuba was embroiled in another scandal. He was named as a co-defendant, accused of sexual assault in one of the many lawsuits against Diddy. Cuba has vehemently denied the allegations. Well, how do you fully escape it, though? Like your name, for example, was mentioned in the Diddy case.
Which was the most ridiculous thing ever.
Because you barely know
This is
him,
the
right?
most ridiculous thing ever. But again, welcome to being a celebrity. Welcome to my world.
Another big star mentioned with Diddy is his ex-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez, who reportedly carried the gun used during the infamous 1999 Club New York shooting in her purse. While it's unlikely for her to have any legal responsibility because no one died during the incident, her down-to-earth Jenny from the block reputation would certainly take a hit.
RICO enterprise has existed for at least 20 years, dating back to the 1999 nightclub shooting in NYC, when Mr. Combs required his then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez to transport his illegal firearm into the NYC nightclub. The court docs allege Diddy forced his then-artist Shine to assume responsibility for the shooting of several individuals.
But with a huge caveat, right? If I'm not mistaken, that shooting did not result in a death. I know that somebody was harmed, but I don't believe anyone was killed. Because of that, you have the statute of limitations to deal with, which is basically a prolonged amount of a certain amount of time that a prosecutor has to be able to bring charges against someone. And it varies from state to state. But the one thing is consistent is that there is no statute of limitations on murder.
Of course, that doesn't mean there's no way she gets off scot-free. The feds have charged Diddy with racketeering, which allows them to cover a large amount of crimes under the RICO Act. It also means they might be able to indict Diddy for the club shooting as well, which means Jenny from the block might have to take the stand after all.
Continuing criminal enterprise, you could have, so the underlying acts, the predicate acts, what we used to call them when I worked RICO cases, a RICO predicate act, could be something like that 1999 case, and you can use it as a predicate act. You can bring it up. You can, when I worked cold cases of this type, sometimes with time, with the passage of time, people aren't as intimidated and they're not as threatened, and they get away from the person who was the threat, and they feel more forthcoming to testify or to give statements in lieu of testimony. But certainly, I think that that case is going to be part of it. In the aftermath of that, they have witnesses that say he bragged about intimidating witnesses, paying off jurors. Certainly when you have that kind of stuff, if you go back and you find that juror that was paid off, or jurors, multiple, that may have been paid off, certainly that gives you the impetus to kind of come forward and refresh those charges on a federal case. So the federal cases will be a little different.
Then, of course, there's Prince Harry. People were actually surprised his name got brought up at all, since there's no actual charge against him or even indication that he was ever at Diddy's freak-offs. But it looks like Jones might not have had a choice at the time, considering the magnitude of what he was about to do.
I think it may have been a move to bring more credibility to the filing and say that, basically he being Diddy, was using his fame, fortune, and influence to insulate himself. So he was able to legitimize some of the activities he was doing by having these lavish parties, bringing all these A-list celebrities, but somewhere in a back room or somewhere in another wing, horrible things were happening. So the fact that Prince Harry was there does not necessarily mean he was participating in what was happening. And just because you were at a party doesn't mean you know what's happening in every inch of the house. I mean, if you think about it, if the party's being thrown in a mansion, there are various floors and wings. So it is completely possible that he was there and did not participate. Now, if you had said Prince Andrew, especially as a result of the allegations that came out in connection with the Epstein case, that they were close and that they traveled together, and there was a person that alleged that he had sexually assaulted her while she was underage, that would be a different story. But Prince Harry and the way that it was mentioned seemed to be very, again, just sort of trying to bring legitimacy and talk about these were the people that Diddy surrounded himself by to protect himself.
Now let's move to Young Miami, one of Diddy's more recent girlfriends. While there are no actual charges against her, it's obvious that she was aware of what went on at Diddy parties.
Who dated Diddy from 2021 to 2023. According to the lawsuit, Young Miami's cousin assaulted Lil Rod during the Thanksgiving holiday in 2022. It reads, quote, Young Miami's cousin burst into the bathroom and began groping Mr. Jones. She started undressing and attempted to straddle him and have sex with him in the presence of Mr. Combs and his staff.
Diddy's ex-bodyguard Gene Deal said that Young Miami might actually end up as a star witness because of some things she has revealed. While he certainly doesn't agree with her all the time, and even pointed out inconsistencies in her claims that she didn't know what was going on with Cassie because she wasn't around at the time, he did say that Diddy was her sugar daddy. So of course she kept quiet.
That it's not sex trafficking, but it shows that Diddy had the power to make people do things they may not want to do. Because Young Miami told Gina, you a carpet muncher, and if I tell Diddy to tell you to eat my box, you would. You would. Now, Young Miami's seen a lot of stuff, and she probably been in part of a lot of stuff because she said she liked to be peed on. She could have been playing. I don't know. I don't know. Don't really care. But those three women, they're going to have a lot of stuff to talk about. And the investigators are going to ask them. Because they want to know, because Lil Rod did say they was fighting each other. They was talking about each other. You understand what I'm saying? So, come on, man. She a young girl. Puff is her sugar daddy. Give me, lend me, can you spare? He taking care of her. What else she gonna do, man? And ain't nothing wrong with that lifestyle if that's what you do. It is what it is.
Do you think she should have spoke up?
That's her choice, bro. That's her choice. She has a brand. She has a chance to go on and do something different.
What do you think? Is it understandable that she kept quiet, or should she have spoken up on the way Cassie was being treated right under her nose? Jaguar Wright also has a whole list of people she thinks should take the stand, with Jay-Z and Usher being right up there.
Should be charged. Mary J. Blige should also be charged. Jennifer Lopez should definitely be charged. Should I keep going?
I mean, you're hitting it off.
Jay-Z should be charged. Khaled should be charged. Rick Ross should be charged. Usher should be charged and tried with him. Or for Justin Bieber alone.
Now, Carisha and Rick Ross just sat down together.
It's sort of obvious for Jay-Z because there have been rumors for years over how he and Diddy worked together. Gene Deal revealed that the two working as federal informants caused Suge Knight and others to lose out on a chance to establish their own music distribution channel. He said that single-handedly destroyed rap in New York.
They're the reason why rap in New York went down the drain. They made sure that these young cats didn't come up with platforms and then come up with situations.
Jaguar also claimed that Jay-Z killed his pregnant mistress. She's also previously said that he murdered Aaliyah to make way for Beyonce.
Jay-Z's pregnant mistress, who died 24 hours after she announced that she was going public with their relationship and the baby while he was married to Beyonce.
Usher might seem like a surprising addition, but it's important to note that even Gene Deal said that it was weird of Usher to paint Diddy in such a good light when he once ended up in the hospital because of him.
I know, and people know, that was around there in that time that Puff and Usher did have a situation. And that situation led Usher to the hospital. Now, I let Usher explain that to y'all. I let Usher tell that story. But how dare you say a man that groomed you, you gonna give him a pass? Bruh, you know I know.
He implied that he knew well why he wouldn't send his own son to Diddy camp, and he shouldn't praise someone you know did you wrong. This is in line with Jaguar Wright, who believes he should be punished for sending a young Justin Bieber to Diddy.
The white guy with the curly hair, and he said, yo, would you send your son to Diddy camp? And Usher said, no, no. Ask him why he won't send him to Diddy camp. But yet and still you praise him.
Gene Deal also recently called out Usher for not doing anything while Cassie was being beaten.
And they watched Cassie get abused in front of, Puffy abused Cassie in front of them. And neither one of those men, and they probably security was around too, did nothing to stop what he had did to Cassie. Now that's just crazy right there, bro. That is just crazy. Usher probably got a daughter. Neo probably got kids, I don't know. Jimmy Iovine, you know, he taking about 15, 20 scoops of sugar in his coffee. So, all those cats there, supposed to be men, watched that lady get abused right there in public, and they did nothing, brother.
One thing's for sure, looking at the long list of people Diddy has been involved with, Hollywood's in trouble.
But without mentioning any names, without incriminating anybody, you see the names? Do you see the people who have befriended him over the years, who have attended his parties, who are considered close to him, who he's been in business with? Have you seen it? Have you seen it? Have you seen it? I mean, this has gotten very, very scary. Hollywood's in trouble. Hip-hop and R&B is in trouble.
There's a long list of celebs who were once happy to call Diddy their friend, but how many of them are we going to see take the stands? And which side will they be on? Let's wait and see. That's it for now. Don't forget to tell us what you think in the comments below. For more updates, hit the bell icon.